Hello, everyone. I am Andy Ortiz, a reporter here at TheWrap and secretly Batwoman. Probably wasn't supposed to tell you, gonna do it anyway. Not great at the secret identity thing. We are so happy to have you here for our 2021 Power Women Summit. Today, as part of our How to Be a Superhero in Real Life panel, we are joined by some incredible women. From Supergirl, we have Azie Tesfai and Nicole Maines. From Batwoman, we have Nicole King. And from The Beautiful Liar, although you might immediately recognize her as Stevie from Schitt's Creek, we have Emily Hampshire. Hello, everyone. How are you guys?
So good.
Excited.
Everyone's like, she came out really, really strong on this. I don't know how I'm gonna match this. It's gonna be a good time. I'm so very excited to be talking to you guys today. I want to start with the important stuff. Obviously, name of this panel is how to be a superhero in your real life. So tell me, what is the secret, guys? I'm like fine with being bitten by a spider. I don't do radioactive chemicals. What is the secret here? How do I become a superhero? Who's got it?
Well, that's the trick. It's really hard in this political climate and where we just are socially to find spiders that aren't radioactive but still give powers. And it's like just like a struggle I don't want to have to deal with anymore.
That is not where I thought you were going to go with this. But it's the way we should go.
It's an important conversation that needs to be had.
Is just beware of radioactive spiders at all times. But now for actual serious things, because I'm an actual serious reporter always, I really am happy to be here just because this is such a select club that you guys are in, right? You all play just badass women on screen, superheroes. And I mean, Emily, in your case, it's a little bit of a different medium, but you're still very, very super. Just tell me tell me about this general experience. This is something that so few people can relate to, can understand. So just tell me what it has been like. Nicole, let's start with you.
Which one?
Oh God. See, we knew this was going to happen.
There was a whole conversation about this happening.
We did. We had a whole conversation. Let's start with Nicole King, because I consider you super, even though you don't technically have power, although we're going to get into some things, but Mary in general, typically the non-super super. So tell me about this.
Well, I will just start with not all heroes wear capes. Okay. She's a great doctor in Gotham, and she has like her own underground clinic. I think what's super about her is that she's really psyched to be a part of the Bat team, and she's a really vital part of it. And I think her actual whole journey this year is feeling left out, feeling undervalued, feeling left out because she doesn't have a suit or what that means, and like doubting her usefulness or her importance on the team. And then by the end, sort of finding that she's got some really great friends who do need her and have sometimes overlooked her. And so I think for Mary, what it means to be a hero is just kind of her figuring out who she is in Gotham, and within her own sort of coming of age story, trying to be a good person and making some mistakes. But so her hero story is kind of being flipped on its head at the moment is the true answer.
That's true. And we are going to get into it. But before we do, I want to jump over to other Nicole, because come on, we knew that was going to happen, right? So let's go to Nicole Maines now. Tell me about your experience being a super, on screen and off.
I mean, I have let myself become obsessed with Dreamer. And it's gotten to a point where it's potentially unhealthy, but we're going to deal with that later. This character has become so personal to me and is just something that means so much to me. And as cheesy as it sounds, and it's like emotions and feelings, I feel like building this character up and bringing her from the show into the comics and building her into the superhero that I know she can be feels like something that I was meant to do. And I'm just so in love with Dreamer as a character, and getting to play her in live action was so much fun, but getting to write her in the comics is a whole nother type of fun. And I mean, I hope I get to continue to do both. But you know, there's more coming down the pipe. Absolutely. I am having so much fun, and there's so much that I cannot wait to just tell people and show people, because getting to see everyone's reaction to Dreamer and everyone adopting her and loving her as much as, well, maybe not as much as I love her.
Not sure it's possible.
Not sure it's possible. It is, you know, just one of the greatest feelings ever. And seeing, I'm obsessed on social media when anyone posts like fan art of Dreamer or like an edit video that they've done. I have to watch it because I'm just like, I love this character and I love getting to see everyone's take on her. And you know, she's, you know, the new superhero on the block. And I just want to show her off to everyone. And I, you know, just, I love her so much. And it's just been a dream come true.
You know, you mentioned creating character for the show. Azie, you got to do the same thing. Kelly Olsen was an original. She became Guardian. Tell me about that journey for you, because I know it was especially personal.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll just say there's nothing like putting on your super suit for the first time. It's an experience I didn't think was going to be as emotional, and it is a small club of people that understand what it's like to put on a super suit for your job, and it never gets old, and it's so cool. And we filmed our finale on location, and I remember watching two kids walk by and look at me like I was Santa Claus, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is not normal, and it's so cool. So I'll say that, like, there is something that happens to you when you put on a super suit. I think especially as women, where you put your shoulders back a little bit farther and you put your chin up, and my posture's gotten better, and I think my confidence overall has gotten better just by spending months in that suit. And then for me, I wrote the episode in which my character became a superhero. So when I felt empowered by putting that on, it was also empowering for the character and Kelly, and it was very parallel in the experience. So I think being able to create that story was something that, I don't know, it's a dream that I never thought would be possible, and it meant a lot to me, and hopefully the little girls that look like Guardian, it meant a lot to them too. And that's the best part, I think, for all of us in being superheroes, is that like we get to hopefully give visuals to little girls that they can be kick-ass.
Well, what you don't know, Azie, is one of those kids that looked at you like you were Santa Claus. That was actually me and a friend.
Is that why you have the mask on? So you're like, I don't know if you, yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm really trying to not expose myself. The mask will come off, guys. I'm just really kind of living a dream here, being a superhero with super. So like, I just need a few more minutes with it. I think what I
You're rocking it.
Thank you. Nicole Maines told me earlier that I have the cheekbones for superhero mask, and I'm gonna fly on that for the next week.
You really do.
You do.
Thank you. But obviously, Emily, I don't want to leave you out here, because I'm so excited about your super journey, because you're in such a different medium.
Well, that's what I think is really interesting, especially after you spoke about, you know, the superhero suit. So I think, so my show is a podcast, and I think there's something really special about having a superhero being perceived through like purely audio. And so it kind of strips away all those stereotypical things you could think of a superhero, and it like puts the emphasis on what emotionally makes a superhero, which I think is quite lovely, because you can also, you know, we all want those people we can identify with, and like those people who looked at you like you were Santa Claus, and a lot of the time it's been like white men or white women, or it hasn't been little girls who can see themselves. And so what I think is cool about audio is you can see yourself, you imagine yourself in that role. And I think the thing that's really just interesting about all superheroes in general is that if you look at them, they're all outcasts. They're all people who didn't fit in. And so to bring it back to like superhero in your real life, your superpower ultimately is the thing that makes you different, the thing that's weird about you, the thing that's your superpower. So I think it's kind of cool.
Well, Emily, I'm a little bit obsessed with the fact that it is a podcast because again, it's such a different medium for the superhero genre, but also like my background is in radio. I was a radio personality for a long time. Shocking, I know. I don't.
I
have a
did
voice
radio
for it.
dramas when I was a kid with people doing footsteps behind me and slamming doors. So
Yeah, they're really, really cool, and they're an art that I really believe needs to be revived. So was that part of the drawing factor there? Was that like we have a radio, or a podcast superhero story for you, and were you just like, yes, dotted line, I'm gonna sign right now?
well, it was Sam Nelson Harris, who's in a band called the Ex-Ambassadors. He has a brother, Casey, who was blind from birth, and they used to listen to all these books on tape and podcasts and radio dramas when they were a kid. Actually, probably not podcasts, that's newer, but and he wanted to write something as part of a companion piece to his album. And so I just got sent these scripts and this letter from him that was so personal and just special that I chose to spend 8 hours in my closet alone recording this podcast for like no money because it was so good. So that was the draw.
I mean, I would do that. If someone asked me right now, Andy, do you want to be part of superhero anything? I would be like, yes, 100%. Don't pay me. I will go sit in my closet and record the voices. It
That's the
feels
right
like an easy.
answer. When someone asks you to do a superhero anything, you're like, yeah.
Yeah, I don't have questions. The answer is just yes. But
No follow-up questions.
none, never. But so Emily, in that sense, do you feel like now that you've done it in this format, do you feel like you would transition to screen and join Azie and Nicole and doing it?
I would love to be a superhero.
Come on.
I even like have an album of my childhood karate pictures to prove to someone during any audition that I could do it. I really did karate.
Okay, but like straight up, I did the same thing.
Oh my God. Okay. Amazing. So it worked. There's hope for me.
Yep.
It worked.
100%.
That's what's important is save your old karate pictures. And that's the secret, guys. It's not radioactive spiders. It's not chemicals. It's save your old karate pictures.
Mm-hmm. I mean, put your lighters up if you were a lame karate kid in elementary school. You
Gotta do it.
Oh man. One thing that really also excites me about this panel in particular is the fact that you are all original characters, because Nicole King, you also as well. Mary Hamilton, a lot of people think she's going to become, hold on. We choke and we recover and we keep going.
Bless you.
But Nicole King, Mary Hamilton is technically an original. A lot of people think she was going to be, my comics knowledge. Come on. Mary Elizabeth Kane, the middle name was Elizabeth, right? A lot of people wanted you to be her, but Mary Hamilton is technically an original. So tell me about coming into that, because obviously when you hear superhero project, you're like, oh, okay, who do I get to play? Like who's the icon? And you get to make her for yourself. So tell me about that.
Yeah, I think I was actually really drawn to the project because first of all, it takes place in Gotham, which is a place that I really geeked out about. I have a huge attachment to all of the Batman movies, and I saw the character description for Mary Hamilton, and it was like open ethnicity. And then I read the sides, like as you do for an audition, and I thought, oh my God, she fits me like a glove. And and when I spoke about Mary Hamilton, she was going to be an original character, so I thought maybe there's room for somebody who I haven't seen before to be in Gotham. Like maybe there's more wiggle room because she's an original and there aren't any expectations, because she is a combination, yeah, you're right, of Mary Elizabeth Kane and Bet Kane. And she's supposed to be sort of the third step sister, the odd sister. And Caroline Dries and Greg and Sarah just have great imaginations and a lot of trust later. And I think that's actually one of the things that really drew me to the role, because she wasn't specifically Asian. She wasn't specifically any actually identity, which then begs the question of who is she? And that's a really enticing creative process for me to go on. And it's been one I've been scared at times, been nervous at times, and been really, really humbled by everybody's really welcome arms. I will say that about this superhero universe. For the most part, it is cool. It's like, well, nobody's skin is green, so nobody's skin is blue, or nobody does that. So I think that it's a great heightened form of imagining the world that we want to see and telling the stories that we want to tell, and being in a bit of control of that is a very, very exciting thing. So yeah, for sure.
I mean, I'll say it. Mary is probably my favorite on Batwoman. I think I can comfortably say she is my favorite.
Oh my gosh!
After being with the show for 2.5, we're in our third season now. I've put thought into this, Nicole, but I think
We were all
I'm gonna like Venmo you that 20 channel.
We were saying that Rachel Scarsden was all our favorites as well. Though,
yeah, come on.
Yeah, so
I was part of that conversation. I love Rachel, but I love many people on that cast. So I'm not doing what Andy's doing right now. That's dangerous.
I know.
Come on, Echo.
Probably gonna get in trouble.
Yeah, I'm like that's a great cast of humans that I love. So.
I like to be bold, Ozzie. I like to say what I'm thinking.
More power to you.
I love Mary as a character too, so I love her too.
Well, and in the spirit of saying what I'm thinking, I don't know how you guys work in these all day long. My goodness, it is just right on the head. I am sweaty.
You can't move your cheeks.
Yeah.
It's all for the cheekbones, actually.
It is all for the cheekbones. But continuing in that vein, an original character, Nicole Maines, it's funny with Nia because you are an original. Nia is not she wasn't in the comics. She is now. But she is related to someone who was in the comics. So you kind of got to be like a spin-off version of Nuranal and your own thing. So what was the process in creating Nia?
Yeah, so it started with reading just a ton of Legion of Superheroes comic books. And so DC sent me up this whole big box and they'd like put little sticky note tabs in different stories and volumes that they were like, this is a really good Nura story. This is really great. And so I read everything I could about Dream Girl and Naltor, and I immersed myself in everything that had to do with, and I read a lot about in one of the continuities where Dream Girl was in a relationship with Brainiac, and I saw what that dynamic looked like, and I wanted Nia to kind of serve as something that could be kind of like point A, and Nura being kind of point B, and you can see how, okay, yeah, maybe like when this character masters her powers, maybe she'll be something a little bit more like Nura. And so and she has this smart wit about her, and she's stylish, and she's a little sassy, and she's great. And so for Nia, I wanted her to have all of those elements, maybe not quite fully realized yet. And then of course, as it is with any character, the more I played with her and the more episodes we did, she just sort of went in her own direction away from who Nuranal originally is. And so now, existing in the comic books as a fully fledged dreamer, she is her own character, and you can see starkly how those two are different and alike, but different.
Have you quite processed the fact that like you are responsible for inserting her in the comics? Like she now exists for forever for all these future comic readers because you brought her into existence on Supergirl, and then you continued her storyline in DC Pride. Like how I just feel like we need to take a moment and like discuss that.
You know, it's weird because I haven't really given myself time properly to be like, I did a really great thing, because I've just been so like, okay, what are we doing next? Where's she going? What's up? Who? I've been on the phone. I've been like staking like DC's offices out. Like I have like a whole like little station I've set up outside there. And really it's just become a matter of, they say yes to me to get me to leave.
Relatable. That's how I live my life.
The secret is to be annoying. But
How do you think I
it's-
got this moderating job?
you do what works. But I mean, it's been so much fun, and I am so proud to have been, you know, and it's something that I'm honestly more proud of than anything else I've done, because this is really something that I manifested myself. You know, my agents didn't help me. I didn't have, you know, family tagging along or anything. Like, it was, I came up with this idea. I spoke to DC and I was like, I have an idea. I want to do this. And I went to the meetings and I pitched the things, and it became what it was. But so there's some other stuff that I originally pitched that people still haven't seen. Yeah, now we're working on where I am working on learning to give myself credit. I am working on some new Dreamer stuff. Well, some new Nia stuff. There's a difference with DC that we just teased last week. So really, really excited for people to learn more about that, because I'm having a blast.
I'm really sitting here trying to manifest a Nia appearance over on Batwoman, because I feel like Mary and Nia, come on, the sass between you two, come on.
Thrive.
Listen, well, you know, this is the thing I've been telling everybody with Dreamer. She has a power set that makes sense for her to appear anywhere. You know, she can just pop up and be like, hey gang, I had a vision, something crazy going down, I'm here to help, let's do this.
This is it. This is what we're putting out into.
Dreamer is ready and waiting.
I'm ready.
You know that meme of Tiffany Pollard where she's just like sitting on the bed fully dressed in the corner waiting?
You.
That's how I feel about Dreamer. Like, I feel like in the suit. Waiting.
Here, I'll just be here.
Totally. I'm like, look, checking the phone.
That's me before any Zoom. Just waiting.
You're waiting.
God, I'm choking so much today, you guys. Okay. Emily, your character in The Beautiful Liar, you are Shadow, which just really cool name. I did censor myself there. Really freaking cool name. And it's just a really cool character. It's this blend of comedy, which you excel at. And then there's this edge, this darkness to her. Just tell me, how much fun did you have playing this character? Because I was cracking up listening to her.
So much fun, because the minute I found out that I am the voice inside of this teenage girl's head, who is that voice that we all kind of have that tells us, you know, don't say that thing, people won't like you, or don't do this. But you realize that voice is trying to protect you. Once you go through like a lot of expensive therapy, you realize that voice is trying to protect you from things that you know, hurt. And so it's interesting to make that thing personified as somebody, because then I started to think about, well, what would that person be like? And like really needy to not let you not listen to me anymore. So I also am obsessed with things like Drop Dead Fred, which none of you will probably know, but it's like a really old movie about an imaginary friend. And any kind of I had an imaginary friend that my parents thought was real, and they went to meet her parents, and her parents didn't exist because she didn't exist. So I just like love that world, but also just because, you know, this is nature. I just want to say that if anyone wants to know, can I play a superhero?
She can.
Okay.
She can.
There we go. That's a Dirty Dancing poster in the back. So. Okay.
Incredible. This is that. Oh, that was amazing, Emily. I'm so glad you pulled that up. I really want to know, what was your invisible friend's name? Or
yeah, I want to unpack the invisible friend.
You know what?
Yeah.
What's crazy is that her name was Christy Alley, and that is an actress but like it wasn't from that. So it might have been like my dad listened to Cheers or something and I heard it, but her name was Christy Alley, but I just called her Christy to my parents. So they thought that this friend Christy that I'm saying, like they should meet her parents. And anyways.
And then cut to, it's fully Christy Alley.
Yeah.
Yeah, plot twist. Emily, yeah, Kirstie Alley.
She's been there.
That's so funny.
She just knew how to make strategic exits, so she made people think she was imaginary, is what happened.
Yes.
For what it's worth, I had an imaginary / invisible pet. I had a pet tiger, because Aladdin, obviously. And I did actually convince myself at one point that he was real, because I went and I was in my bathroom one day and I looked down at my tub and I swear to God, I saw a little shadowy like paw print. I was so convinced. I was like, I did it. I made him real. I have a pet tiger. I'm still upset.
Now, I don't want to raise any alarms, but that might have been a demon.
Might have been. So while I avoid thinking about my personal demons, Azie, let's talk about we're not going to talk about your demons, but we're going to talk about you as Kelly Olsen, also an original character. Like you said, you got to write her origin story, and that's huge. People I don't think quite process how huge it is that you got to write your own origin story. You got to bring in parts of your life as Azie. How hard was that? Like, genuinely, how hard was that?
It was hard. I think only because it was such a personal experience and personal episode, and I made her superhero coming out story based in the darkest moments of my personal life, and a lot of the words she said in that were things that I felt or said before myself. There was a lot of like voice note recording in my apartment in Vancouver, crying, and then my neighbors must think I'm crazy, but like then transcribing it and then Kelly saying it. So the lines were very murky, I think, in me becoming a superhero, because I wrote it from so much of like things I've struggled with and finding strength from that. So it was very cathartic, because I was unpacking a lot of my own weaknesses, insecurities, frustrations, maybe not being seen or heard, and then using that to find her power. The fake it till you make it. Like I was playing a character that was processing things that I was exploring and writing. So it wasn't
a superhero in your own life.
That is so amazing.
Thanks, ladies.
Emily brought it back before I could, but I was going to get there.
Oh, yeah. So it was, a very public form of therapy, pretty much is what that was. But yeah, it was, look, I still, the fact that I wrote an episode of our show and the fact that it ended up being, the Guardian, and a woman has never played the Guardian before. And then my suit I helped design, and I got to do a half helmet, and I got to give her braids, and I got to do all these things that felt very meaningful and personal in what I hoped, if I were to ever be a superhero, the visibility of the characters of Black women and what that's going to mean. I've always been very mindful of where it lands and who it's for. And so none of that was ever lost on me. The hardest part was like midway through when they're like, an actor has never done this before. And I was like, I don't need that kind of pressure in my life, because
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I was like, I'm happy to be the first, but I don't want to be the last. So I want to make sure I don't mess this up.
Yeah, they can maybe keep that pressure to themselves.
I was like, you could have midway through.
Just hand her a coffee and tell her she's doing great.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Bold decision to be halfway through. That's really mind-boggling.
These terms I knew, but I don't look things up. I'm very much like an ignorance is bliss person, and I tend to always think I can do anything. My mother empowered me with that as a young girl, and then I get like 80% in, and I'm like, oh, this is hard. And people are like, you didn't think it was going to be hard to write an episode of a television show? And I'm like,
and star in it.
And yeah.
How did it come about for you to do that, to be able to write your whole character?
Yeah, I mean, I had a really productive pandemic, I guess I could say. I mean, I like cried and questioned my life and did all those things that everyone else did.
As you do.
Yeah, but I started writing, and there were stories that I was wanting to tell, specifically in general, and then with the character on the show in particular, and a voice of it. And so I hired a writing coach over the year, and I just worked with her, and it was so great. And I ended up writing a Supergirl spec script and sent it to my showrunners, more just like, here, this is a storyline idea. And they really liked it, and sent it off to Warner Brothers, and they really liked it. And they were like, well, it was kind of, okay. And then when we found out it was our last season, and they had to re-break the whole season, so that wasn't going to happen. But they were like, we're still giving you an episode. It'll just be something brand new that you'll do. And then they were like, it's actually going to be your superhero coming out story.
That's so cool. That's so cool.
I really just like admire your initiative. I feel like a lot of people say that they want to do so many things, but you just like followed through and did that. And that's, I think, probably the most impressive part about it for me.
You are.
Yeah, that's like Nicole Maines, like your story of pitching it and going, like, I read this article that Greta Gerwig was speaking in about how she felt like she never felt like she was qualified enough to direct, and she'd done every single job and realized that, like I had guy director friends who had never done anything and were just like, oh, I want to direct a movie. And they went and did it. And Greta Gerwig was talking about that sense of entitlement doesn't come naturally to most women. And so to hear these stories of women taking initiative to put their idea out there, like I know so many times as a younger actor, I would give my idea to the showrunner or to the writer and let them have it so they could say it. So I would get to do the thing, but I'd never take ownership of it. So I think this is like really amazing.
You know what? I'll be honest with you, because that's such a good point, and that's something that I struggled with so much, of never wanting to be perceived as difficult or never being too loud or never, like, I just want to be easy. I'm here. I'm grateful to be here, like, and not asking for too much. And I think I went through some things in my life that like made me realize that people are going to like you. People are going to have their opinion on you, kind of no matter how malleable you are, how much you even compromise your voice and your worth. And so you might as well start asking for stuff. And that realization happened right before I made this ask. And so I think it was the first, and I was like, I was met with a yes. And so just start to try to, but everything you're saying, I think as women, we're so conditioned to just be like, we need 30 hours of, 30 years of experience to do one thing. And we watch someone else come in and just go, I'll figure it out on the fly, as opposed to believing we're capable and asking.
Yeah, because the stakes are so high too. Like if we fail, well, you were going to fail anyways, because, you're just a woman. But this is so inspiring. Like all of it, I feel like that kind of thing is the superhero again, to do the thing that you're scared to do is always the superhero's kind of triumph, right? And so for us to do I say us, I didn't do anything.
We're a team.
We're a team. That's what it is.
Yes,
It's teamwork.
already I'm inspired.
Yeah.
But it is, and it makes other people feel like they can do it, like feel like you can. I'm inspired.
It's such a good point, because I think part of the problem for women not believing that we can do this is we have not seen ourselves in these positions.
Yes.
We have not seen other women doing this. So we just assume like, oh, that's not for me.
Yeah.
But, boys, they grow up and they have all the superheroes that look like them. They have, their favorite male actors and their favorite male directors, and they get all this recognition and fanfare. And so they're like, of course I can do that thing. Of course I can learn on the fly. And for women, we're like, I can name, however many female directors, so you just assume that's not a space for me to fill.
Yeah.
And the nuanced voice, the specificity of your voice and your lived experience is important, and that there's value in it being told. It's something like, especially I think with our Supergirl fans, where like as we're going through our finale, it sounds cheesy, but it's like believing that like your voice is important, you're your own superhero, no one's going to save you but yourself, and like there's value in all of that. And I think so many times we're like, oh, they're cooler, or their story matters, or like no one's going to care about me. There's a place in it, and I promise you, like when you activate that, somebody else will feel seen and feel empowered to do the same. And that's so important.
Someone needs
I
to
feel
hear your
really,
Yeah,
I
100%.
feel really great about this conversation, guys. I feel genuinely empowered, and that is what I was. I mean, I knew it was going to happen, but it is what I was hoping for as well. As we get close to winding down our time here, I got to go back to Nicole Kang because you knew I had to. Because as much as we talk about heroes, female villains can also be the most fun to watch on screen, and seeing that character development and the arc. Miss Thing over here, we're not going to let the hair go. Miss Poison Ivy, Nicole Kang, you are Poison Ivy, at least for a little while.
I have just seen Uma Thurman, like.
So tell me about playing this, because obviously we know we saw the progression here is like, we know Mary is not a villain. We know that this is just a happenstance. She got infected, but like Poison Ivy is also one of the best big bads, even though I wouldn't necessarily call her bad. I want to know everything about playing Poison Ivy.
Okay, talk about pressure. Yeah. That it's like an insane sentence. I'm like, I don't, yeah.
Nicole's still processing it. That's why I would be too.
I was gonna say, while you're processing, I'm so excited that this is a thing now, because Nicole and I have been texting red hair photos for months and like figuring out her hair color. So I'm very
been my guru. Like, and it's so insane because I've got ladies like Azie, like Nicole, who've gone through this process and creating things and paving the way. I mean, I would have never even thought. Azie was like, you need to start thinking about this. Like, what kind of red? And I was like, what kind of red?
Lovely shade, darling.
Let's pull up info photos. And she's just trying to like,
and Ozzy's like, I'm just gonna text you, and like a Pinterest board comes through, and I am so grateful for that community. I also think another thing that is really great about our community here, and even panels like this, that there's such a solidarity in, well, they're not going to tell you how, but this is how, and that there truly is room. So this has been like an all-encompassing process as well. And I will be honest and say that the storyline for Mary is not Pamela Isley, who traditionally in the comics becomes the OG Poison Ivy, which we are also lucky to have as a part of our story too. Bridget Regan is incredible. But yeah, exactly. I had to add that. So it was not a thing that was assumed, but I think a lot of us went through this thing where a huge part of my work and my activism outside of the show that I found is a huge stress in intersectionality, the difficulties that come along with that. And the truth of it is heartbreaking 95% of the time. And the work that has to be done is, a truckload. And again, feeling not heard, not seen, not recognized, and hate speech is alive and well. And with platforms like ours, we really come face to face with it. And what can we say? What can we do? And how can we, channel all of this into creating something better to say than responding? And that's like an almost impossible task. So this idea came from a lot of times I hit a wall and I got turned away over and over again about being like, hi, I think I'm having this experience. So probably Mary is having this experience. She lives in a city in Gotham. So for example, what is it like for her to be an Asian woman in Gotham? Does it matter? If I have used something that I've stolen from Sandra Oh, and she says I infuse my ethnicity and my identity into every character because that's who I am. And for me, my face is my face. So this idea that, we don't address our lived in experiences into our characters is a myth. Like inevitably these two people come crashing together, and there is something real, which is what I think fans are so keyed into. And so Mary's arc of feeling the ways that she does is real. But then what does it mean that I'm Korean playing this villain or anti-hero? I will say all good villains are anti-heroes, I think. Okay, well, I know in cinema, I personally wanted to shy away from her foreignness being what makes her scary, or her mystique, or well, Poison Ivy is a sexy character. Well, what do we do to Asian women in cinema in terms of their sexuality? And how can I be cognizant and aware that for sure, like, I felt the pressure of that. I think in terms of being the first, along with these two, it comes with a lot of pressure in those kind of minute ways that of course I have to worry about the hair, and of course I have to learn, because there's nobody else who's going to care more than you are when you're drawing the suit, when you're picking the colors, and when you're putting it on and stepping up and saying the things that you mean to say. That has been a truly all-encompassing experience, and I am like nervous sweating day in and day out for sort of the world to see it, but it does really feel like scary, like you're standing in the street in front of everyone sort of naked, and so I think that sort of means that it's what I'm supposed to be doing, and pretty cool.
Nicole, who cares what the world thinks? You got the four of us here, and we are all very.
I'm like so into this for you.
Yeah.
Nicole, I want it because I think you're amazing as a friend, but also I know your arc because I'm friends with you and really good friends with Bridget. So I know how amazing it's going to be. And even in that arc, Sarah Schechter, who produces a bunch of our shows and is wonderful. My first Comic-Con, she said something on our panel that stuck with me for many years, which was, like I came in and Makad played Jimmy Olsen, who's my brother in the show. A lot of our characters in this world are white in the comics and have been cast with diversity. And she was like, there's a whole generation of kids who know Jimmy Olsen as a Black man, and they actually don't know the Oza version. And there's going to be, I could cry, but there's going to be a group of young Asian girls who think you're Poison Ivy.
Oh, you know what really hit me that you said at the beginning of this, when you were auditioning for it, you said that it was open to all ethnicities. And I was like, why does it need to say that? Why does that need to be a thing at all? Like, I've never experienced that open to all ethnicities, because it's always been assumed that, and it should be assumed that if you're going to play a superhero, it's open to fucking all ethnicities. Yeah. But I think what you've done now is that's never going to be on a breakdown again. It should be a given.
Guys, I'm like really, really upset, but I do have to wrap us up now. But I'm so.
Do you have to wrap us up?
Oh,
that's a good one.
Never a missed pun. Never a missed pun.
Dreamer.
all right. I'm not gonna be able to do any better than that one. But truly, Nicole, Emily, and Azie, thank you so very much for being part of this conversation today. You all know that I could talk to you for another hour if I could, but unfortunately I cannot. Those of you who are watching this panel, please go find these women on social media and just be part of their tribe online, because as we have made clear during this panel, support is everything. Even if it's virtual, everyone is connected. That is the beauty and also terror of social media. But again, thank you ladies so very much. To those watching, please check out more of our wonderful content at the Power Women Summit. And we will see you again very, very soon.
Bye.